You guys can see my screen, right? It says deliberate practice. Okay, good. I'm just going to go through it here quickly. Deliberate practice is you try to do a practice, but you focus on specific skills. You're aware of the specific skills that are called upon to do the activity. Here we have a picture of a basketball player, so it would be all the things that you do in basketball. But for us, it would be the source language. Can you understand it? Are there terms that are difficult? Is there an accent that's difficult? Are you able to figure out how to put the notes down? What notes did you write? And you try to detect trends in this chain of events that's necessary to do consecutive interpreting. It goes from listening to writing the notes to reading the notes to expressing oneself in the target language. And there's many, many subtasks going along there. So that's the idea behind this first point, is focus. You want to focus on, okay, what is going wrong and what's going right, and then devise exercises that will fix it. Like with any complex activity, you chunk it into parts and you devise exercises to improve whatever part seems to need improvement. 3, in deliberate practice, you absolutely must have monitoring, and that's what we do here. We have each other listening to each other and giving feedback. But you can also do it yourself. You can record yourself alone at home. You can record yourself here also and listen afterwards. You could have a colleague do it, or you could have an expert professor or teacher do it. You need to identify those strong and weak points, and I'm calling these challenges, and then devise targeted exercises for each point. Here's sort of a frequency chart. You could maybe have a coach help you out once a month, colleague once a week, and do your own self feedback on the basis of your recording, maybe once every day if you're pretty determined. Now, when we actually do the critique, first of all, you're going to listen to somebody do an interpretation. That's what you're going to do today. We'll be in groups, and you will listen to someone, and then you will, while you are listening to a colleague, you have taken, first of all, altogether you've listened to a speech of some sort, and then one of you will give an interpretation. The other one or two will follow that interpretation in their notes, and if you have something to say, let's say something is omitted or something is said that seems to be different from what you hear, you can write on top of your notes what you think you should say. And what I recommend is that you put yourself in the colleague's shoes who's being critiqued, and be in a position to tell that person exactly what he or she said. It's not very fair to say, well, I don't remember what you said, but it was vague. That's not very nice. It's better to say, you said 1975, and I think I heard 1965. Be precise about what the person actually said. And try to listen both as somebody who has not heard the original and see, would I be able to follow what's going on here if I had not heard the original? But also try to listen as someone who is an interpreter like you are and has understood the original, so that you can detect any gaps or things that are not really accurate in your point of view. And then when that person finishes the interpretation and you have finished taking your notes on top of your own notes about that interpretation, it's time for you to give feedback. And I recommend, be kind and useful. Make sure that you say things that can actually help the person improve. And I recommend a sort of an order. Start with a general impression. Was it smooth? Was it a little bit shorter than the original in time? And was it something that would hold attention? Your goal is to reach a point where you actually give an attractive performance. It'll keep people's eyes and attention on you, and you will, one of the things that I recommend is have eye contact with people. After giving that general impression, try to look at matters of substance. By substance, I mean the actual meaning. And let me show you what I mean by the difference between substance and form. If somebody says 1975 and you heard 1965, that's a matter of the actual information being different because you heard a decade earlier. That would be a question of substance. If the person said 1975. And therefore, you can see that the person actually has the date correct, but is expressing it in bad English. That is a matter of form. You can see this difference and this distinction between whether the person just didn't understand what was said, or on the other hand, the person understood what was said but is not using good language. That distinction is something that you should, everyone, all the time maintain in your minds, both the person receiving criticism and the person who's giving it, because that is essential to finding out what went wrong. If it's just a matter of form, the person has a slight problem with the target language, that's one thing. If the person has actually written down the wrong year, then it's more a matter of the whole process of interpretations and note-taking. So it's important to maintain this distinction. So, and interpreters, as linguists, we tend to be a little bit in love with words, and you don't want to spend your whole session talking about words. That's one reason why I like this distinction. Do distinguish between substance and form, because it's basically the substance that will enable you to improve. It's when you see that something has gone wrong in the substance that you will be able to find those weak points and improve your note-taking, etc. So.